What's up, brother? Good to be here.
It's kind of good to be here.
Kind of. I was sharing with you earlier today, like I've been frustrated, like a lot. Not with anybody specifically, but just like human nature in general.
not with anyone specifically, but actually with
names
with everyone. No, I've been frustrated with a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I want you to go to who are you frustrated with?
In general, with the desire that all of us have to just settle. I took a cold shower this morning for the first time in like a month. And I hit a streak where I was doing that all the time. I felt better. The data is there. Everyone should be doing it every morning. But for some reason, I just stopped. And I got comfortable enough. I did it just enough to make myself feel better and then stop. And as I've had some interactions with some different advisors where they're like, man, I know I want this. I know I need to do it. And then they don't. And usually it's not, I don't get frustrated with somebody when I'm talking to them from a coaching standpoint. And a lot of these people are reaching out to me. They're like, Sten, can I have some time?
Yeah,
can I do something?
We get people who reach out to us every week. I mean, I would say every day.
Yep.
Via email, whatever, there's lots of different channels.
And a lot of times it's not, hey, Sten, thanks for the suggestion, or whether it's our community, whether it's an event we're putting on, whether it's our online course. If they say, hey, great, but I'm going to go do this instead, great.
Yeah,
you're taking action, you're getting uncomfortable, but unfortunately that's rarely the case.
I was going to say that, I was going to ask you a follow-up. Like, how often do people say, hey, I was thinking about this, I'm going to do this instead? Or, I mean, it's mostly...
It's mostly nothing.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's, hey, I'm going to do this instead, and it's like just a toned down version or a less uncomfortable version, which is also a little frustrating because I know you're going to be back here again. And what we know and what we're going to talk about a little bit later today is like what regrets are made of. And the fact that like, let's all own that this is happening. Let's all own that the natural pull of ourselves is back towards average. It's back to what we know, which most of us will say we don't want to be where we are. And maybe it's just because we take our eye off the ball, like I did with the cold shower thing. It was like, I just stopped proactively thinking about it. And where did I end up? Back where I was before, where I didn't want to be.
Right.
And so what's the accountability piece? What are the things? How can we rebuild our day to just own, if left unattended, I'm going to lean towards average. And I know average is going to leave me frustrated with regrets. So let's just put that on the table. Like we're all susceptible to that. Okay, now how do I hijack that process and keep pushing myself?
The heart of this company comes out of our hearts to help advisors recognize and reach their potential faster.
Faster.
That's
I remember
our
when we
tagline.
added that word, yeah.
We're like, faster. Because the industry will say, we will help you recognize and reach your potential. Where the elite advisor network comes in and says, cool, let's do that faster.
That's right.
Because there is an average path. And if you stay in the business long enough, the average path will take you to a pretty comfortable life.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something about a comfortable life that is really unhealthy.
Oh yeah.
And there are challenges that we want to talk about today. And again, just like it is out of what I hope is a healthy frustration of talking to so many advisors who are just comfortable enough to not do anything,
Yeah.
but not uncomfortable enough to do something, or not self-aware enough to say, I'm going to go make myself uncomfortable.
Yep.
Right.
And this is a frustration advisors have, and I have all the time with clients.
Yeah.
Like you're coming to me saying you have a goal you want to achieve. I'm giving you ideas on how to get there. I meet with you 6 months later and you've done nothing. And you're equally frustrated. You're just sitting in this pool of, frustration, disappointment in yourself. I know I should be doing something better. And it's that same feeling that we're having with different advisors where it's like, man, I feel like I want this more for you than you do.
Yeah.
And that will never work. And so I think with our audience, we end up engaging with two groups we've found.
Yeah.
And those two groups are on one side, it's I'm aware enough, I want more. Mm-hmm. I'm not comfortable, whether I want it for my family, I want it for my business. Like I don't want to feel this much pressure that I need more clients all the time. Like the desire on a daily basis to achieve is what drives them. So they come to us and they say, I see you've already done it. Why would I try to recreate this on an island by myself and just be frustrated if I can be taught by others already doing it?
Right.
We love working with those people. The other are people that have a high level of awareness to realize, wow, coaching's important. what got me where I am is doing uncomfortable things. And so they fully embrace coaching, feedback, community.
Yeah.
But that middle group, it's big. Are advisors that are just stuck. I'd even say they just have to be unaware.
Yeah.
Because someday they'll look around and realize, like, man, I missed it. I underachieved.
I've had enough conversations with enough advisors that lately I have actually been saying, let's say it's Mike. Mike, I'm going to give you this link. You've expressed interest. If you don't join by Friday, you're probably not going to do anything. And I'm not going to follow up. And it's like, not because I don't care, but it's just you're a grown adult and I've told you everything you need to know. It's really just up to you now. Mm-hmm. And it's not their wife's problem. It's not, they don't have money in the bank account. There's something about a level of curiosity or awareness that, and I would say here's the hard part is in the same way that positive habits start to snowball into other positive habits, mm-hmm. That sort of complacency, it's never in one place in your life, right? It's always going to bleed somewhere else. And I want to encourage you, if you're watching or listening to this, because there is a level of curiosity and awareness that you have, if you're listening or watching this on YouTube, that a vast majority of advisors do not have.
Yeah.
And so I want you to feel great about the fact that you are, to some degree, curious mm-hmm. and wanting more for yourself. Yep. Because to go on whatever app you're on or our website or YouTube, to hit play, to pay attention to this and multiple other episodes. Every month we get people, Sten, who are going back to episode 1. We can mm-hmm. track the downloads. We know that there's every single month, this show's been around for more than a year. Every single month we're still getting people go back to episode 1. So they're going 56 episodes ago and they're saying, I want to go. That is a curious, healthy minded person.
Yep.
And there's other people that we like more than others, and they leave reviews.
Nice.
So thank you. We like you more than others. Seriously, leave a review. But there's the next one, which is, and I want you to talk about this sort of accumulation versus or plus implementation, because I think it's the two key ingredients of successful people.
Yep.
Right. So tell me about accumulation.
I've met advisors that are students of the game. They love to read. They're always studying. Like they can just talk about everything. But a lot of times those same advisors I meet also express, but I don't have a practice like yours. I'm not. I don't have the number of clients I want. I'm not making the money I want. And what I've realized from these interactions is like there's this buildup, but lack of execution or implementation. And it reminds me of the Stoic philosophy. And when I first started reading more of that and was curious about, like, for me, philosophy felt like it was that professor in college in like a
very
heavy sweater
from reality,
smoking a cigar, just thinking about life.
The elbow pad thing.
Yes, the leather elbow pads. Classy.
Gotta have it.
And then when I started reading more of the Stoics, like it was philosophy in action. Mm-hmm. It was like people living hard lives, doing things, and saying these are lessons that everybody should know to live a better life,
right?
Actively,
right?
And the same is true, I feel like, for advisors, where it's like, look at all these letters I have and look at all these things. And what really comes down to for us is like, how many people are we helping? Like, let's measure everything by impact, not by letters on our card or the strategies we can talk about. And so I think for advisors, it's important at times. And I lean more towards action first with a balance that, like, I can always on the fly go back and figure the thing out.
Right.
But I want to earn someone's trust and add value and then find out other things I can do. Versus I'm going to sit over here and accumulate all this knowledge or all this, grow a business and work on my workflows in Salesforce, whatever the technology is, and just have all this pent up infrastructure without it actually going out and helping anybody.
Right. I think what gets really discouraging, and this is where sometimes I have to stop accumulating because I'm not implementing enough, that if there's a relationship in my life I'm working on, if there's, if I'm trying to become a better coach, I'm watching videos, if I'm here at the office and I'm, reading a book or whatever, there are times when I just go, Andy, stop and do. Mm-hmm. Just stop. You know enough. You're hiding by reading more.
Nice.
Literally, I'm hiding from action.
Yeah.
I'm hiding from implementation by doing more accumulation. And what we know to be true is that if you accumulate too much and you don't implement in every sense, whether it's food or money or, possessions, like we call these people hoarders, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, have you ever met anyone you really admired and they were a professional student? No, like they're a student of the game, meaning they implement, they learn, and then they implement. But no one's like, I just want to grow up and learn all the time. No, you learn to implement. And I think the challenge is, how many other podcasts are you listening to that you're not doing something with? And we get a lot of compliments on this, and we're proud of it. And I think it's one of our hallmarks is that we try to be really practical. Like, go have a different meeting because of this. And so we don't, and this is where our frustration comes in, is that we know that when people make these changes, it absolutely works.
100% of the time.
100% of the time.
Which is crazy, yeah.
Which is crazy and awesome.
Yep.
I was talking to a member of our community today. I didn't tell you about this, but I just said, where are your fees at? And he said, we're at 4,000 now. It's kind of our base. We were at 2,500 8 or 12 months ago. And I said, man, that's great. Imagine if, it's happening like you think about the car industry. The average car has gone up 40% in the last 3 years. That's crazy, right?
Yep.
And it's like, and he's struggling because he's like, I'm doing this and this, but he's struggling because he's implementing and he's learning.
Yep.
Right. And it's like, that's the right kind of struggle versus the struggle of like having no momentum whatsoever. Yep. Right. They're just trying to figure out where to put their momentum and their energy because they're in motion. It's a lot easier to navigate when you're moving. Like we know this to be true, right? You've seen those like super cool guys and they're like stand still at a stoplight on a bike and they're like bouncing. That's skill. It's not hard to balance a bike when you're going forward at 5 miles an hour because it's like things in motion are easier to steer and move. And I don't know if this is an episode more for us or for you, the listener, but it's just so frustrating that, again, it's like I want people to be a part of EA and I want people to come to our events, but more, I just want people to do something.
Yeah.
Right. And again, listen to the podcast is something, but it's like, that's not going to change your community. That's not going to change your team. That's not going to change your future or your family's future because you have to implement. And I think that's what really great people do. I think about the failures of big companies. I remember Google came up with something and I can't remember the name of it, which is a testimony to how bad it was. But they came with it's called Google Wave. Do you remember Google Wave?
I do not.
No. And that's my point, right? It was weird. It was like this hybrid, like workspace plus social networks. It was just, and it was like really hard to explain. And like, this is a company that had billions of dollars and they could explain it. But you know what? They keep trying things. And it's like, that's why they're still in business. It's because they keep trying, they keep implementing. And I think that's just our heart for business owners, for people who contact us. And I think maybe we're just, I don't know, maybe I'm older than you, but like, maybe you're just like, I'm just getting tired of being patient with it,
Yeah, I think there's one thing that our industry does, and then this was true for me early on, was what it taught me was like the whole goal is to get a comfortable business so you're comfortable, so that you're making enough money. Like that was the goal. It wasn't about, hey, it's to help as many people. It's about to allow your business to evolve and change as the industry changes. Like those were not like celebrated things. It was do this long enough and eventually someday you're going to hit a point where you can just kick your feet up and golf a lot. And maybe that's you. Maybe that's your practice. You want a lifestyle practice but more and more advisors I'm running into are like, they want to be able to live in the tension of like, no, when I solve that problem, another one is created for a good reason because I'm trying to help more people. I can scale my business. When I tell advisors, what if you could help more people, make more money, and work less? Isn't that the ultimate goal? Where a lot of advisors are like, I'm going to make the same, work the same, and help the same.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate goal.
And be frustrated.
Or, because they know they're settling.
Yeah.
Like if your business model looks the same today as it did 10 years ago, that's a miss. Like it shouldn't. Maybe you, every couple years you change something and then you put your head down and just maximize it and then you pick your head up again and say, hey, how can we evolve and change this?
Yeah.
But if you're saying, hey, Stan, I'm good, I'm checked out, I'm just going to ride off in the sunset, take my renewals and my recurring revenue and be done.
The good news is I don't think anybody listening to this is probably that person because we probably would make them angry.
That's right.
Right. Which is fine. I want to make those people angry because they're missing out on what could be.
That's right.
And again, it's not that we're not saying, and let me ask this, not prepped at all. Do you see your company at some point having 30 employees?
Legacy?
Yeah.
Not based on my contribution alone.
Right.
But I've elevated other people. This is the new business model. No longer is it Sten. Sten had to get out of the way, which was hard, not micromanage. And now other people are helping run that.
Yeah.
If they, within their own desire, build a healthy business that turns into that, and I'm a piece of it, I'm all for it.
But you're not coming into work today and be like, man, we gotta hire 25 more people and then we'll be the right company.
Nope.
And my point is that we're not saying more.
That's
right? Ramsey's down the road from here.
Mm-hmm.
His goal was to have 1,000 employees. 15, great, cool. And he's achieving that. That's his. We're not saying that more is the goal. It's like, what is the right thing for you as an advisor?
Yep.
And I think people know this about their books of business. Like, I've got a book with 1,000 people. Mm-hmm. And you're like, and how many do you want to work with? And they're like, 14 of the existing 1,000. That's right. Oh, I've got these other old books or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's not about more. It's about the right kind of business for you.
Yep.
And I think the challenge is that we want to steer you towards not experiencing what I think most people experience in the human condition. Mm-hmm. And again, if you're listening to the show, you're in the minority. You're in a very, very small group of people. We have a great number of downloads for the number of advisors that exist. But I would just say that you're in a really unique place that you're not content in a healthy way, right? And you're not blaming someone else. You're getting it for yourself.
Yep.
So I want to make a reminder that our community, our events, one we have coming up in May, another we'll have later in the year, probably in September. We put guarantees on them because I would just say that one of the problems I've had in the past with sort of coaching in general, online, this or that, is that it's sort of like, well, if it doesn't work, it's just your fault. Well, to some point that might be true, if you don't implement, but it's but what if, there's guarantees on other things, my tires are supposed to last 40, 50,000 miles. They can put a guarantee on a tire. Why can't you put a guarantee on this program? Mm-hmm. And I think it's because they don't have a very good program.
Yeah.
So we're really confident in ours, and that's why we put a guarantee right on it. So I want us to shift down to avoiding what I think is potentially the worst human emotion of all the emotions. And you had really eloquently stated this earlier about regret is when you're aware of what could happen, but no longer have the time to do what you could have done. And so it's the knowledge of what could have been without the time to do it anymore. That's
just heavy.
That's regret.
And as we were kicking that around, I think regret to me is it's a past thing that you can't change. You can be sad, frustrated with something. A lot of these emotions are I can still do something about it. It's not what I'm trying is not working. We all live in that tension. But as we were talking about regret, what we know is that most people on their deathbeds are I wish I would have taken more risk. These are just common things. No one's really arguing that happens. Yet most people are still in a place to where they're not taking the action they need. So regrets are constantly in the making. And so for me, that definition really summed it up. It's because it is awareness. There's a lot of advisors I talk to that aren't quite aware that they're not doing what they should, or they're not reaching the potential. But someday they will. Unfortunately, every day that passes, that window of time for you to take action and achieve that thing is getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah, the problem is the window's getting. The problem is not the opportunities. The problem is the window is getting smaller, and that window being the window of time.
Yep.
And the great thing is we have advisors that we work with. They're in their 60s, and I want to keep doing this, right?
But in their awareness, it took that long for their awareness window to be I don't want to just be an advisor with an assistant doing the same thing. I think I have more to add, more value to give. And their window is still big enough at that point to make some change. Are they going to have this multi-million-dollar planning consulting practice with it may look different for them, but it's still satisfying in them, that need or that thing that's been kind of scraping at them. Man, is there a better way? Is this it?
Yeah.
Am I just selling products that other people control and hoping I make enough money, but not giving a really great experience to where my clients don't really see any difference between me and another advisor, which is where most advisors live.
Yeah.
A lot of the people that engage with us finally get to a place where they're I think there's a better way. I don't quite understand it yet, but I'm curious enough to pursue it.
Right.
And then the final piece is just, am I willing to take the action?
There's a lot of young advisors. Specifically, I've talked to some that are, actually two in the last week, that are switching from another career. And their question, it's so fascinating because their question is, hey, Andy, Sten, love the show. All right, there I start off with that. I say, great. Have you left a review? Just kidding. I do ask them that if I meet them in person.
Wear them out on the reviews.
Well, it helps, and it's like, come on, don't say you love it. I'm just kidding. But they'll say, hey, love the show, but here's my situation, and they feel unique, and to them it is unique, but it's not, which is like, and they say, when should I come to the event? When should I join EAN? Because I haven't started yet. And I always respond with essentially the same thing. I try to mix up a little bit, but essentially it's like, when do you want to be prepared? Before the game or after the game has started?
Yep.
Where this is, we're in March, late March. We got a month of April. We get another month of practice for our baseball team, and then in May we start playing. And I was going to maybe start playing a little earlier this year, and then I met my team, and I was like, we are going to get all the practices in we can, because I want to be ready when the real game starts.
Yep.
That's just good planning. And so if you're thinking about, gosh, how can we have people that go, hey, I know I'm going to get my licensing on this month. So they join EAN or they come to think so that I said, this is my other response, say, on day one, do you want to be ready to charge for advice? Yes. Okay, then let's go.
That's right.
Let's do this. And then there's the other. So I think it's that fear of like, I'm not ready yet. And it's like, of course you're not ready yet. But so get ready.
Yeah.
That's the younger or the newer. And then I'd say there's this huge place in the middle. It's probably a majority of people who are listening right now, Stan, is that they're just in a habit. They're just in a habit of this is the kind of advisors that I'm around. It's the kind of advisors that sort of are in my company. This is my region.
Yep.
And that habits are heavy, man.
Oh, yeah.
Habits are hard to break. So
we talked to some large firms that they'll initially come to us and say, hey, we've identified some of our top advisors, our most experienced. And it's one thing to course correct later on and say, oh, this is how I want to do it, because we have advisors tell us that, like, this is the advisor I want to be. But imagine not having to course correct. Like, imagine on day one forming the philosophy towards this business that you will hold to for the rest of your career.
Yeah.
Where for me, I went down an insurance only path, and I had to be like shaken up, and then I went investments all the time path, and then eventually I had to find my way and realize, like, oh, there's a holistic, balanced approach here where my time and ideas are actually valuable. That took me 10 years. And so if you're thinking about getting in this industry, you should do something like this.
Yeah.
If you're new to the industry, the sooner the better. If you're, hey, I'm frustrated with the current model I'm in, I think there's a better way. And we have other advisors. We had one, Paul, at our last event. Stud advisor, Merrill Lynch for a long time, managing a bunch of money.
He's amazing.
He just cruises in and be like, I was just curious, and he's like, this is great. I'm going to start doing this tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so no matter where you are, but if the question, because we get that a lot, like, when should I do this? I'm thinking about it. I'm at a firm where I can't charge. I want to charge. They're thinking about letting me do it tomorrow. Because it'll reshape the way you view the industry and your value. And the sooner you have that, it'll impact every decision you make.
Yeah. It adds a new filter to all of your experiences. And again, I had this conversation again with a lot of advisors one-on-one, and I just asked the question without expectation. It's not rhetorical. Like, why don't you value your time? Because there's all these other industries that value their time.
Yep.
Why is it that you don't get paid for your time? And their answer will be something like, well, I get paid for it. And no, that's not what I'm saying. That's not the question. I didn't ask if you get value from, assets under management. I didn't ask if your time, filling out these forms or why don't you value your time enough to actually get paid for it? And there's no good answer other than I choose not to. Right.
And what's fascinating to me is when somebody actually gets defensive of that, and you're like, where did that come from? Like, where did the passion inside of you to defend that you're not worth a fee?
Yeah.
And it was just slowly spoken into us, because I was in that group for a long time. The industry just kind of says it and gets you to believe, like, hey, go out there and sell these products. Like, and I remember I was with a managing partner once at an old firm, and he was worried about the fees I was charging, because his firm was charging $1,000 planning fees, and I had some clients paying me $12,000, $20,000. These were complicated business plans. And he said to me in a meeting, he was like, I just can't understand how somebody would charge that. He was like, I would never pay you that much for your advice. And this guy was probably 20 years older than me, and he was like flustered in the meeting.
Yeah.
And on the fly, I was like, that's fine. I wouldn't have you as a client.
Dang, bro.
And we both had this tense moment. And his point was like, I don't see the value in it.
Yeah.
And I was like, exactly. That's why I wouldn't have you as a client.
Yeah.
But there's people that do see the value in it, and they love it.
Yeah.
But he almost couldn't get out because he ran an insurance
And that's not
company.
your ideal client. That's fine. And again, I think this is another way that people, this is the last thing I have, so you can wrap after this. But like the other way that I see advisors talk themselves out of this, and it's sad because I think they want to be in it, but they talk themselves out of it, is they say, but my clients I have now wouldn't do this. And often I would say, you might be right.
Yeah.
Right?
I have those clients too.
Right? But my question is, are those the only clients you're ever going to have? Are there no more clients?
Yeah.
Right? It's one thing to say, hey, Andy, you want to go skydiving? You'd be like, you know what? My family's not really into skydiving. And I want to go get a different family of skydivers to it's like, that's not for me.
Yep.
But there's other thing to just say no, these are the only people I have, the only thing I've known. It's like, well, then go get different people. And with these skills, you will be able to go get and find those people and attract those people and serve those people. And so I don't want to be harsh today, but I want to end on this encouraging note. Like, if you're listening to us, you have taken actions that a vast majority of advisors have not taken. Mm-hmm. I just want to, as strongly as I can, encourage you, keep taking action. Implementation is the separator. It's not learning. It is not learning. Mm-hmm. It is not. It is, otherwise the very, very best and brightest of the whole universe would just be at colleges.
That's right.
And there's a lot of really smart people. But if you want to really affect change in the world, I would say you have to at some point stop learning and apply what you're learning. And that's our heart. And that's why we've got our event in May. That's why we've got our community. That's why we do what we do. That's why our episodes are short. Like, we don't want to talk about this.
Yeah.
We want to go do it.
That's right. That's good. And I'll put this challenge out. This is probably going to create some activity for us. But if you were in a place where you're like, I'm frustrated, I want to do more, I just don't know what to do. And this is that average versus elite. I talk to a lot of advisors, when they tell me what they're going to do, within 20 seconds, I ask them a couple questions and they 10x what their action was going to be, because they're like, wow, you're right. Like, that wasn't going to get me extraordinary results. So if you're in that place, email us. Sten, Andy, here's the thing I'm thinking about doing to get better. Here's the step I'm taking, because it can't be nothing. It can't be I'm good, I'm settled. If you were in the camp of saying, I want more, I just don't know what the next step is, email us what you think you're going to do to level up your practice this year, and we will get back to you challenging that. It may be, hey, great, what about this? Or it may be like, hey, you're thinking too small, think much bigger, and we'll help you with that.
Awesome. So we'll put that link in the show notes or YouTube or wherever you're listening or watching. But if you want to do it right now, it's Andy@eadvisornetwork.com, Andy@eadvisornetwork.com. We reply to all those. Someone on our team will definitely reply to that. Sten, thanks for your time today. And friends, thanks for listening or watching. We want the very, very best for you. We want to help you recognize and reach your potential faster. And so we look forward to helping many of you do that in the future.
Thanks, brother.
Hey, friend, thank you so much for taking your time to listen to today's show. We do appreciate that. If you have any questions and you'd like to save $500 on your event registration, you can book a time to talk with me one-on-one. Just go to howtochargelive.com. That's howtochargelive.com. And I look forward to talking with you. Keep up the great work and be elite.